Monty, about a week and a half ago on Jefferson Avenue with a guy that was driving a vehicle that was wanted, I think. Could you comment on that, please? He was the one that they followed him out of Coles.
David Pittman.
Yeah.
David Pittman is a 20-year-old male, and he is a violent individual in this city. On the back end, since his arrest, people have come forward, and we're going to tie him to 4 murders, 2 in 2018 and a double murder in 2017. That is a violent individual. I will do everything I can to help people, especially youth. But look, there is evil in this world, and those individuals that are doing that, I am going to remove them from the streets here. I'm not going to tolerate that nonsense. We got a call that he was in a parking lot with 5 other individuals. I had 1 officer there, and I wasn't going to try to address him in a parking lot. He got into a vehicle. I had 1 officer behind him and 2 other canine officers. So if you look at it in a line, you'd have Mr. Pittman, police officer, police officer, police officer. He was at an intersection at Boynton and Jefferson, and the officer hit his lights. 5 individuals in that car. They accelerated. They went about 1 city block and came into contact with a van that had just turned at, I'm going to say the name of the street wrong, Hypersham in Jefferson. He collided a T-bone into that vehicle. The driver, Mrs. Morton, is fine. She did go to the hospital. She was fine. Her mother, 78-year-old, beautiful lady, was killed instantly. Killed instantly. The 5 individuals got out of that vehicle. They fled. We were able to apprehend 4 of the 5, but Pittman got away. There were 2 firearms in that vehicle. So we had the SWAT team search the woods, and I did an interview that night at the scene. And I knew she had died. I knew she was already gone. And I took some blows, some hits, if you will, because I didn't release that right away. But here's my faith, and here's how I believe. I owed it to that family to go see them at the hospital and talk to them first before I put out to the media that she had been killed. And they can, the community can be upset with me all they want. I would do the same thing for anyone. I'd want that respect for my family. So myself and Chief Grinstead went to the hospital. We spent about 30 minutes with her, the family there at the hospital, told them what happened, and then we went back to the scene. We made it our #1 priority to find that individual. In 48 hours, we found him in Chesapeake, and he gave up. He came out, he gave up, and then once he had handcuffs on, then he started, how bad he is and what he's going to do to everybody, after he was handcuffed, of course. But I thought the officers did a good job. The main officer who hit his lights, he had only been here about 3 months. And I'll tell you now, he was shaken up. He was shaken up. You came out and spent some time with him, and I appreciate that. That stuff's important. How I treat my officers, to just, okay, hey, we'll see you tomorrow. I can't do that. So we had our chaplain come out, and we had Dr. Cole, he's our psychologist, came out. And then going forward, any critical incident we have, a police-involved shooting, that we see something traumatic, psychologist is going to come out and talk to the officers before they go home. I'm not going to lay on my conscience that I sent somebody home and thought they were okay. I'm going to at least have somebody who's much smarter than me tell me that the 2 canine guys, they're fine. This officer, we got to keep an eye on. He's struggling. Been here 3 months. I went to the funeral of the lady that was killed. Her funeral was just inside Hampton. I think it was at Calvary Community Church, Baptist, but it was just inside Hampton. I went to that funeral, talked to the family and the pastor, and he gave a great sermon. His sermon was on Job, about asking why. And he talked about, Job, I know what I'm doing. I'm God. Why are you questioning me? And he said, sometimes we can't get mad at things God does, right? He gave a great sermon. I talked to that family, and it was hard. It was hard. But we caught that guy in 48 hours, and since then, people have come forward and told us that he's implicated in other murders. He is a violent individual.
When he wanted in Henrico?
He is Henrico. 2 Henrico detectives came down. I talked to the Henrico chief that night and the next morning. And I think Richmond is even looking at him for some robberies there. But yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Yes, sir.
A few years ago, I got pulled in as a grand jury foreman. It was a special grand jury, and we processed in one day 104 cases that the police department had been working for about 2 years. it was an eye-opener to see, I mean, first of all, we see you guys out there
Right.
working, but to see the work behind the scenes, you know, obviously a lot of undercover work and things like that, but the effectiveness of it, the detail, you know, the timing, and I mean violent, all kinds of offenses. It was amazing to see that, and as I'm sitting here thinking, you're clearly targeting your areas that need emphasis and distributing to meet those needs, but the public, these things, when they came out to us, the group of us sitting on that grand jury that day, we were saying things to each other like, boy, if we only knew some of this stuff. And I know that you've got the balance you have to do because of, it is undercover work and you're doing those things.
Sure.
But to help the public understand the depth of what's going on, the breadth of it, I think is something that would help if there's a way to do that.
One of the things we're trying to do is we've changed our Facebook page. I'm not a big Facebook and Instagram and all that. But they've got me hooked up doing this Facebook Live, so twice a month I'll do a session for like an hour, kind of like we're doing here. We offer our theme academies, which is 8 or 9 weeks. Has anybody gone through it? I'm sure you have. Has anybody else gone through it, our theme academy? You've gone through it? I want to do one for citizens. I'd like to do one just for clergy, for faith leaders. But we talk about where we have each division come in and give like a 30-minute presentation on what they do and why. I try to be very transparent with my interviews with media. I want citizens to know what we're doing. And I'm going to say this to you. We do not always get it right. We make mistakes. I only know one person who got it all right all the time. We make mistakes. But I will say this. We are better today than we were yesterday. And we will be better tomorrow than we are today. I have 450 men that come to work, men and women, sworn and civilian, that come to work and try to do the best job. Do I have bad apples in that department? Yes. Just like anywhere. I try to do the best I can to weed those out, to identify that, to address behaviors and problems. That it's not a group back here that just come to work and ride out the clock. But we do the best we can. I am very impressed with this department. It is very progressive. My chief in Richmond, when I left, he said, you know what? You're going to make changes there. You need to bring somebody with you. So I prayed about that a lot. I'm walking into a city I don't know anybody, a department I don't know anybody, and let's just be, some segment of the community and the department wanted someone to come to be the chief from inside, and I get that. I totally understand that. I understand it because we can have a chief from inside the department in Richmond in 30-some years. There's a new chief every 3 years there, and it's different. So all I can come in is be open and honest and be who I am. I respect the men and women here. We've had good conversations. I try to speak last at a meeting, so I get everybody's input. But I know there's things that we can do better. I know there is. But we don't always get it right. And I'm not going to run from that, right? I'm not going to run from that. There was they had a story about a detective. They thought he did a bad interview with a juvenile. He had a juvenile sequester for like 8 hours, and he would interview him, take a break, interview him, and I don't know if anybody see that on TV?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? There are some issues with that. There's some issues. Did he violate his rights? No. Could we have done it better? Yes. You cannot do, it's not 1985. Juries expect different things now. Judges want different things now. They want to see, you can tell me you saw it, but where's the body-worn camera footage that shows me you saw it? They expect that. And that's what I tried to talk to Detective Trong about is the things you did in that interview, none of them by themselves are problematic. But when you put them all together and you have a 14-year-old in a room for 8 hours, handcuffed, jurors, that's going to bother people. Think about that if that was your son, right? It's uncomfortable. People don't want to see that. We've got to change some of that strategy. And I think Detective Trong understands that. But I didn't run from that. They asked me, would you just send in some yes and no responses to these questions? Absolutely not. If you want my responses, you bring that camera truck over here and let's sit down and let's talk through what happened in that interview. Because let's remember, we still had a lady whose house was broken into, guns were stolen, and her car was stolen. Let's not forget that. But I also understand I want to be the most professional, morally, and ethically police department we can. But I say again, we can always do better. We don't always get it right. We're going to make mistakes. But I think together in the community and moving forward, I look for outside people to come in and do training. One of the things I did in the academy is I like to take a week out of there and break the monotony up. We call it a community week. A funny story to tell you. But I want to get those new recruits out, and I want them interacting with homeless people. I want them interacting with people who have drug addiction. I want them to be in some of our more challenging communities. I want them to go into the schools, the elementary schools, and reading with kids. I want them to experience this community. If I hire somebody out of the fields of Wyoming, and I bring them here to Newport News, urban policing, that may not be something they're used to. I want to expose them to some of that. They see some of that, right? When I got here, I went to the academy, and I said, hey, I want to take the recruits out and run through the neighborhoods in this city. Oh, Chief, that's dangerous. They might get shot at. They might get hurt. And I'm like, guys, if I got to deploy the SWAT team to run with recruits to the neighborhoods, we'll do it. I'll lead it. We ain't gonna run very far, right? I ain't got that, but I said it's important for citizens to see us in their communities. And I'm not just talking about up here in the north. I'm talking about down there in the south, right? So when we went on these runs and people are honking their horns, people are coming out their doors looking and waving, you know, they're not honking to tell us to get out of the road. They're telling us hello, right? They're saying thank you. That's important. That stuff's important. I don't think they really thought anybody would get hurt. I think they're just resistant to change. Mm-hmm. We've got to do more. I've got to open up the doors of that department so our citizens, our community see what we're doing. And I want our officers to know that citizens and community, that's what we all stood in line for. That's what we all took the oath for, right? So those are things that, in any event that I do, any promotion ceremony, any award ceremony, any type of celebration, you'll always see, wherever you see me, you'll see me with youth. At our graduations, we've had kids playing the violin. Our last graduation, we had a young boy at Mitchellville High School. He's like number 2 in the state at classical guitar. He played the guitar. You know, I want youth there. And when I get those youth commissioners sworn in, I want them exposed to what we're doing. That's important. When I came here, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna be done. When I got sworn in, they talked to me about, hey, let's get you maybe CNU, beautiful facility. What about the city council chambers? How about circuit court? Did anybody know where I got sworn in at? Down in Gross Community Center, right? Mm-hmm. Why did I pick there?
It's the middle of the
You be visible.
East
Then,
End.
an important
Yeah,
place.
So you want them to know you care.
That's exactly right.
yeah.
What else did I have on stage with me?
Don't.
That's right, soundscape.
Soundscape.
Group of young kids playing music, right? Why is that? What was I trying to do?
Involve them.
Involve the kids, yeah, but I'm trying to send a message to 2 groups.
Give a vision and let them know that they're the future and you.
Yes, to the youth of this city, right? To some of the problemless communities that we have. But there's another group that I'm sending a message to.
Their parents.
Still one more. Still one more. You're on it. You're close. There's one more group that I'm sending a message to about community and youth. Who could that be? Who? The youth? Who else? My department. I want my officers to know this stuff is important and it matters. And it matters. We're going to have the best crime reduction year. Well,
No, that's great.
yeah. He has blessed me in this department. We're going to have a tremendous crime reduction year this year. I bet we come away with, when I got here in July 2nd, we had a 2.2% increase in crime for this city. If the FBI would have called, and they call every year, we send them our reports, and they rank the cities in the country. We had a 2.2% increase in June. At the end of the year, we had a 5% reduction. That means we went 2.2 to 0, and then dropped it another 5. That's 7.2% in the second half of the year, 6 months. The first 6 months, we had 16 murders. The second half of the year is always more violent. 2 full months of summer, the first month of school being back in session, and the holidays where we see our robbery spike. 16 murders the first half of the year. How many the second half? If we had 8, no, I just gave it to you, dang it. 8. We had 8. 16 the first half and 8 the second half. The trend I see us on is where we need to be. But we got to keep finding new ways to work and reduce crime. Anybody else? And I'm going to get out. Yes, sir.
I'm just going to make a statement. You know, I have the deepest respect for you guys, but I see y'all in an adversarial position every time you go out because, you know, you're a target. And, you know, my concern is, you know, if I were an officer, they're being held to that standard that a lot of people can't reach. Because every time they do anything, people are going to be photographing them and find anything that they possibly do. And being a self-conscious, when you're going up to somebody, it puts you at a severe disadvantage. If they've got a gun or they intend to do you harm. And I just don't know how, you know, a lot of these police forces maintain their levels because most people don't want to do that now because, you know, they feel like they're going to be in jail trying to do their job.
When I came here, I had 3 pillars I was going to focus on. The first was going to be we're going to work in our community and youth. We're going to focus on youth. The second was, just like you said, everybody's got cell phone cameras and everybody videos and everybody runs around and police this and police that. The second focus for me is we're going to be the police in Newport News. We're going to reduce crime in this city. I'm not going to tolerate kids getting shot. I'm not going to tolerate people being held captive in their neighborhoods. We're going to be the police here. And that's one thing for me to say it, but when I expect officers to do it, they have got to know that they trust me, that I have their back. And I will stand up for them each and every time. When I did that interview for Trong, and they wanted me so bad to say, it was a bad interview, it's discipline, it's discipline. I didn't put it on Trong, I put it on me. I'll bear that. This is my department, it's my responsibility. We try to do better. We can look at our training, but I have no problem with Detective Trong. Well, is he going to be on suspended, or is he going to be? Detective Trong is in court right now in juvenile court, and he's doing an outstanding job for this city for 27 years. The third thing that is my pillar is the health and wellness of this organization. Not the bricks and the mortar and the vehicles and our equipment, right? The men and women, sworn and civilian. Don't forget the civilian that work here, the dispatchers, right? The assistants, the secretaries, the people down in records that work those late hours. But this job is stressful enough. I am not going to micromanage this department. I am not going to nitpick. If we wanted to, you could follow me around all day and find 10 things that I do wrong. I probably broke the speed limit on the way here. I might have rolled through a stop sign. You know what? I am not going to micromanage people. I do not want officers going out there and, well, it's hard enough with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office or with crime. It's hard enough with the perception that citizens have. And now I got my sergeants and my chief, man, they're on me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give them the best training I can. I'm going to relieve as much stress from them. That's why it's important for me this year. Every person that works forensics, and I love them, that's a hard job. But this year, going forward, they've already met with them. But Dr. Cole is our department psychologist. Those people in forensics that stood around dead bodies and processed crime scenes for hours, dead children, babies, they're going to meet with that psychologist every year just to have an hour session. Just to talk. I need to make sure those people are okay. I care about them. I'm not going to send an officer home. That young boy that was in that, I'm not sending him home with his young wife and child. He's been here 3 months. I'm going to make sure he talks to somebody, myself included. I'm going to talk to him, but I want somebody professional to talk to me and tell me, hey, he needs some time off. What do I do to him to say, be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock after you just witnessed that? I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I've been through that stuff before. I'm not going to do it. I want to make sure these officers are well balanced and taken care of, and I want them to know that it's like a family. I'm single, right? This is my family here. This city, the men and women that come to work, and I'm going to treat them like family, but I got to make sure they know that. As long as they're treating people professional, I will back them 100%. When we succeed, when we get those great crime reductions, when we make good arrests, I will put all that on them. They deserve all the credit. When we fail or we fall short, the community's upset with us, I'll take that. I'll deal with that myself. I'm not going to put it on those men and women. Is that fair? I got 2 other events, my friends, so I'm going to get out of here. I greatly appreciate you allowing me to come and spend time with you. If you guys are eating like that every month, I'm coming back. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now.
Standing invitation.
I really appreciate it.
Have a little gift card from one of the popular coffee places, but there was no coffee in your cup this morning,
That's
so
okay.
maybe you can pass that on
I
to a
certainly will.
deserving individual.
I certainly will. I want to thank you all for it not being anything to do with donuts. I appreciate that.
You're not walking cliche there, huh?
That's it.
Biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy. I like it. What do we got
Another
here?
thing we do every month is we put our name in the hat, pass it around again, and draw a name, and you pray for that person during the month. Chief, your name's in here,
Okay.
so draw someone else's.
Okay. See what we got. I give this to you.
Make sure you didn't get your own.
No,
you just take it with you.
Oh, I keep it. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I announce who it is?
No, sir. It's
Okay.
It's all
If you got
personal.
Walter, you got your work cut out.
If I go. Very good. So again, I just want to say thank you. But let me tell you, Walt, he does a He does a tremendous job in a need that we have in law enforcement, and I cannot, thank you.